Well, spring has arrived. Just doing a little after work reconnaissance. I think what I'm going to do, and I know it's probably the wrong time of the year for this, but we have such a limited season here. Just going to flip you guys around. So all these nice little spruce trees growing. And they've grown slow. These were really tiny when we moved in here, but there's a nice little fellow there, and this guy here. Here, let's get further into the bush. Almost like I drove a tractor in here years ago. Yeah, there's all these nice little trees in here in this corner. You guys can see. I'd like to thin them. See, they're just kind of everywhere. Happy little trees, like Bob Ross would say. But in behind the house here, I'd like to thin them, because if I don't, they're all just going to die. They're going to swallow each other up. But so you guys can see the blue spruces, they're starting to die off in here. And got to replant. But the thing is, these have a nice little spot here. You can see the canopies open. But there's so many of them. Maybe we'll dig a few of these up, the smaller ones, and transplant them. And sure up along the yard here. Show you guys. I always do this in spring. I like to see what's going on. Check out the yard. Friends, it's funny, when we moved in here, this thing's about 10 feet high now. It was just little. Just a little guy. These got smashed last year, but they're coming back by the looks of it. Let's see what we got in here. See, friends, so you guys, I get asked about drainage. All the way around this property, there's a ditch right here. Oh, here, friends. See that? Years ago, I slid my tractor in here by accident. And yes, there was water in the ditch. I got it out, but I can't remember how I got it out. I backed my truck in here. Yeah, as you guys can see, all the snow's gone finally. There's a little bit left in there. These spruces, you guys can see, we had a really bad storm, an ice storm a couple years ago, and it just trashed that one side of the trees. But so, this talking projects, I didn't film this. I kind of wish I did, friends, but I was a little strapped for time. It's just kind of the story of my life. I re-graveled the driveway here, dug up the entrance. I'm letting it sit. We're supposed to get a bunch of rain, so which didn't really pan out. But I twinned the driveway. Going up to the house so that we can park multiple vehicles side by side. We can fit about 10 vehicles now. Where this was only to here. So I added about 6 feet. And it's nice now. Can actually just back in straight. I'm proud of this place, friends. When we bought this, it was so overgrown. Just gonna show you guys. Hey, so the driveway only went to about there. It was really overgrown. So I dug all this out with the skid steer and made it double wide. Oh, we fancy now. We double wide. Yes, sir. Anyhow, friends, I love sharing my property with you guys. This place, it's a special place to my wife and I. This was kind of our dream, and we did it at 30. We bought this place. I was 30, my wife was 29. Through nothing but hard work. And we bought this place. The whole backyard was 5 foot overgrown. I was on a tractor and it was as high as the seat, basically. And I had to put the bucket down because I was hitting stuff. But this whole backyard was overgrown. It's kind of messy right now. And actually, I'll show you guys. Anyhow, friends, there's the backyard. You gotta have some yard cars. I don't even know who owns none of that junk anymore. It's just there. It's been there for a long time, and I'll keep her there. Somebody's got to keep the property value down, and it might as well be the Tin Man. When you have a big yard, friends, you just store people's stuff. But this whole back was 3-4 foot high, and I mowed it and tamed it, and it actually grows pretty nice now. You wouldn't know it, but in a couple weeks, this is really going to calm down. I've had some large burns there. I'm going to have to fill this area in. I'd like to backfill that and dig the garbage out of the middle of the skid steer and go spread it in the dock. And yeah, and the firewood never ends. Now what I want to talk about today, friends, is I've actually spent some more time on the farmertec 288s. I want to update you guys with my thoughts on those. Whew. That one's got a bone there somewhere. 288 farmertecs. Are they good for just firewood and saw? Because let's face it, a lot of people need a big saw, and there's no big saws in their neighborhoods. Now that I have two of them, I've ported one, I've worked on two of them. Now it's only a sample size of two. One I believe is a late build saw, meaning the kit was later. One's an earlier kit. And the question is, now knowing what I know, would I still recommend them? This is those trees we cut down with the iron horse. 372. And the 572. You guys haven't seen that footage yet. Those saws are good for doing firewood, 100%. I use both those saws. Never had a hiccup all day. Question is, can you do that with a $400 kit saw? At least $400 in Canada. Let's talk about that. Today's video, I want to give you guys an update on what I think of these 288 farmertec kits. I think it's important because a lot of people buy these, and there's all kinds of different information on the internet about whether these are thumbs up or thumbs down. Friends, I gotta say, when I first got them, building the kit, I was pretty impressed. There wasn't any fasteners missing. Everything seemed to fit okay on my kit. And I thought, these aren't bad. Now, this one is the one that I built, and it's been sort of trouble-free. It hasn't been trouble-free though. So let's talk about this kit and then this one. This 288, you guys remember, I built the saw using all the supplied parts as delivered with a base gasket. I never timed it, ported it, did anything. First time I ran the saw, remember how boggy it was? I thought I had a carb issue. Well, it was actually the hole through the side cover was depressing the decomp, and I was leaking compression and causing the saw to get boggy. So what did I do? I took the top cover off and I plugged the decomp. Now, if I did some machine work or got rid of the base gasket, that hole looks like it would line up, but on this saw it doesn't. So problem number one with this saw. After I got it running and ran it a bit, problem number two arose. And if you guys remember, what was problem number two? This saw did not oil, period. The oiler never squirted a drop of oil. So I put an OEM oiler in this saw. I've done several loads of firewood with it, bucking, falling, and limbing with it, and it's been okay. It honestly has. It's as supplied. So this one's not too bad. For the money I have into it, it's a good running saw. And I would recommend it, okay? But here's the problem, friends. Now we get to this saw. This saw was sent to me by a subscriber. He said he just threw it together. He never ran it. If you guys go back and remember, this saw never ran as good as this one. It didn't start as good. It oiled like crazy, but it ran okay, but it wasn't the best. Well, so what did I end up doing? I tried to get it running good. Every time I went to take this saw into the woods, it just didn't run. So I took it apart and found the problem. The problem was bad crank seal. Whether it was an installation issue or just a bad seal, we'll never know. So this saw here, friends, I put a new crankshaft in it from NWP. Again, porting them, I don't like the crankshafts that are supplied with these. I put better bearings in, or bearings that I think are better, SKFs from Wolf Creek. Replaced the gaskets, new crank seals. I put an OEM oiler in it and cleaned that all up. I replaced the fuel line in this saw. What else did I do to it? Oh, it needed a new carburetor because the carburetor didn't work, friends. The flywheel on this saw was slightly out around. It was doing this. So again, had to put an OEM flywheel on it. The clutch is stock. I put an OEM cylinder on it and a Meteor piston, or maybe a Highway. I can't remember which one. But now, friends, this leaves us to where is this saw at? Well, the saw still doesn't oil properly. I've never made this saw oil. I think it needs a tank vent. I dug out my last good OEM oiler. This one actually spins. I have a couple of these that are seized. 281s, 288s and that. There was quite a few of them out this way, but they sit in barns and that, and they tend to get very corroded, and one of the first things to go on them is the oiler. So this oiler, I'm going to take it apart and clean it and inspect it. So I need a new oiler. But now, friends, I went to run this saw this morning, and I think the ignition failed on it. I really do. So I don't know, friends. I hope it's just a wiring issue, but this thing doesn't have spark anymore. Previous to that, the kill switch died, so I replaced the kill switch. Previous to that, the recoil broke. And some people would say, well, yeah, it's ported. This saw has no machine work, so I think this saw has more compression than this saw right now as they both stand. Now, this saw has way more time, but this saw doesn't have crazy, machine work created compression. So, I don't know, friends. I'm at the point with these. This one's okay. This one has been a dumpster fire since the day I started working on it. So, and I'm not saying I'm not going to continue working on this saw, but I thought it was my duty to tell you guys my experience because I have two of them and I've spent some time with them. Does this saw run good? Oh yeah, this thing pulls chain like crazy. I have no qualms about its runnability, but remember, friends, this is a homeowner toy saw. It's my saw. I cut firewood. That's what I do. I do tree removals sometimes for me or a neighbor, and I cut it into firewood, and I haul it away, and I split it, and I heat this shop with it all winter. So if one of my saws doesn't run, I could just grab another saw off the shelf. It's not a big deal. I bring 3 saws with me generally when I'm going cutting, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. So it's not a big deal for me. At this point, though, this saw's been very, very reliable. It runs good. It starts. It idles. It oils good. I've had no glitches with this, and it has the factory carburetor. This saw is almost completely OEM. The parts that aren't OEM, the handle, the case, the outside of the recoil, the top cover, the chain brake. Oh, and another thing, friends. These dogs don't line up. This outer dog is longer and taller than the inner dog. So there's another thing I noticed about this saw. These ones are perfect. So, I don't know, friends, if this is an earlier kit and this is a later kit. I ordered this kit online and I got it about, I don't know, it took about 6 weeks to get it or something like that. I don't know where this kit came from. So, I don't know if they've gotten better or worse. I'm not sure. But I thought it was my duty to let you guys know. I'm not 100% sure about these kits yet. This saw, I'm going to say though, certain things about farmertec that have gotten better, their handles. First time I ordered a farmertec handle, I had a saw that got slightly pinched. I pulled just a little bit on it to get it out, and I literally folded the handle in half years ago. Now these handles are stiff. They're quality. These dogs aren't super soft. They seem to be, they seem to be adequate. The bar nuts on this saw are like OEM. They seem to be, they used to be really soft, the farmertec bar nuts. This carburetor seems to work good. The one that was on here, it worked okay, but it had its moments. It wasn't good enough for a ported saw. Maybe it would have worked okay on an OEM saw. But yeah, what I'm getting at, friends, is if you buy one of these, be prepared. It might be a good runnable saw, or it might be a saw that you're throwing parts at. And if you don't have a bin of 288 parts like I do, it could get costly to try and put one of these together and make it run. Are they fun? For sure they are. But you have to remember that you might end up with a saw that doesn't run. And yes, I see all kinds of guys on the internet porting these. They cut cookies and, you know, it's good. And friends, the difference between that and what I'm trying to build here, I'm trying to build a saw that my buddy's going to go and make a living with. And I can't even get this thing out of the shop. Every time I fix one part, another part breaks, it seems, on this saw. To the point, I'm just going to keep going, and this saw will be 100% OEM. The reason why I didn't build an OEM saw, friends, and I've been asked that, is I didn't have a good set of cases. 288s around here, the cases are often broken. I didn't have a good set of cases. Caleb wanted a high top, so I high topped this thing. The chain brake seems fine on these, so there was no reason to change that. Cylinder, I don't think a highway piston and cylinder would last under daily use, which is what this saw is going to do. Recoil seemed fine till I shattered the rope the other day. There was a burr on the inside of the recoil, and it actually cut the rope out of this thing, so I had to fix that. I put OEM recoil parts inside the farmertec cover. The caps don't leak on this thing. So there are things I do like about this saw, friends. This one's all farmertec except for the oil pump. So it's hard to say, friends. I was going to change the ignition on this, and I did, and the parts I had didn't seem to work. So I might have to dig back into this and throw a new coil on it. I think the coil's smoked on this thing. So anyhow, friends, that's an update on the 288 farmertecs. I've put some time on this. I have been running it lately. This is a good running saw. I'm really happy with it. It's kind of slow. It's grunty, just like a 288. This thing runs exactly like a stock OEM 288. And we know why. The timing numbers, when I did the video timing all the different saws, these farmertec cylinders time exactly like an OEM. So maybe that's why they run quite a bit like an OEM. So this one's fine. If they were all like this, I'd say go out and get you one. Go and buy one and enjoy it. But this one's been a headache, friends. Like I said, the saw just would not run out of the box. I found a bad crank seal. I replaced that. I decided I wanted to port it. So it's like I put a new crank bearings in it, new crank seals. I had to replace the flywheel. I had to replace the fuel line. I had to replace the carburetor. I had to replace the cylinder. I had to replace the piston. So it's one of those things. The kill switch died on it. The recoil broke. I mean, friends, I've almost had my hands into every part of this power saw at this point. So, and I haven't even cut a truckload of wood with it yet. This saw has 15-20 minutes of runtime in the wood. You know, a couple of tanks worth, and this is where we're at. So I'm not poo-pooing farmertec or anything like that, but when I'm running into issues, you know, with a project, I like to show you guys, hey, it happens to me too. It does. So at this point, I'm going to have to spend a couple of evenings, probably off camera, friends, and just start going through this thing again and see if I can get it back up and running. I'll have to rebuild this oil pump. I usually take these apart and make sure the shafts aren't rusty. This one seems to turn okay, but I'll do that and see what I can get this saw doing and dig into the ignition. This thing has no spark right now. It just died today, so maybe a wire broke or something like that. Let's hope. Anyhow, friends, as always, thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later. For question of the day. Today's question of the day comes from Mark Heinel. Hey, Mark, how's it going? Today's question that Mark asked, I actually don't know the answer to. And the question is, Mark is rebuilding an original old 066 Stihl, and Mark wants to know, can he put a decomp top end from a 660 or an 066 Magnum on it? Will it fit? I didn't know the answer to this question, so I called my good buddy the Iron Horse, and here was his answer.
Yep, 660 top end fits on a 66 Magnum. If you're using the original square top Magnum top cover, you have to bore a hole in it in the location for that top mounted decomp. And that was the only thing that was different about them.
There you guys have it from a guy that's built a bazillion 66s. Thank you, Harvey. There you guys go. We all don't know everything, but between all of us, we probably got all the bases covered. Thank you, Iron Horse, for taking the time to answer today's question of the day. Thanks for watching. Take her easy. Later.